Today we're going to talk about how to elope in Telluride, and the expert on this is going to be Michael. He's a photographer who lives out of his van and travels all around the country and the world to photograph, but he loves shooting in Telluride, so he's going to be our guide as we talk through what it looks like to elope, the different locations to elope, where you might stay when you elope, some things you should be considering if you're thinking about eloping there, and some of the pros and possibly cons of eloping in Telluride. Where should couples consider eloping when they're thinking about eloping in Telluride?
If you want to elope in Telluride, there's so many options. So it's what makes Telluride amazing. Like so many places in Colorado, other places that is, you don't have access to the mountainscapes everywhere. Here, everywhere you go, like right out of town, you could literally shoot out of town and you'd just be knocking them out of the park. You go to a place like Aspen, you have to climb up to the top of some mountain because you're in some pit. Telluride, it's like 360, everywhere is gorgeous. Any time of the year, you have gondola access to different towns. You can drive to world-class vistas like within minutes, and the place is just stunning everywhere you go.
And then let's talk about the difference between an elopement and an intimate wedding. Can you define those real quick?
Yeah, an elopement's just two people getting married on their own terms. And an intimate wedding is when it starts to blossom out and become something a little bit bigger, but not a full-blown wedding where you're inviting all your friends, guests, aunts, uncles, cousins, that kind of thing.
And if somebody was thinking about eloping, meaning maybe they didn't want to go with a venue, they just kind of wanted to venture out with somebody like you as their guide, is an intimate wedding still on the table as an option in Telluride?
Absolutely. Some photographers are very strict about this. I'm like super mellow in terms of figuring out, helping people celebrate their love. Yeah, I can totally do anything. I have 20 years of experience doing this, so I can pivot and jive with anyone.
And what would you tell couples if they're considering what their options are? What would it look like for them to be accommodated and stay in Telluride?
Well, Telluride, you kind of pay for your vistas. So it's not the best place to elope on a really small budget. You can stay in neighboring towns, but if you're going to come to Telluride and you want to stay here, you're going to kind of have to have the money to rent a place, and they're not giving them away here, but you can keep your stay short. The restaurants are expensive, but there's so many good choices on places to eat. You actually can get some really great food here. Yeah.
And how would you describe the town in Telluride? So say a couple's thinking about eloping. You had mentioned like the courthouse is right there and everything's really close. You can walk to everything. Describe Telluride to somebody who maybe has never been there.
Yeah, well, it's this beautiful old mining town that sits in just a magnificent box canyon. You're surrounded on every side except for the little side that you come into. And the town has a gondola that's free 24/7, and it connects with like a new town that's on the ski resort that's like the ski in, ski out property. And so both sides of the mountain have two different little towns, and then you can get off at the top. You can photograph up there. And you have 360-degree views up there. You got this little box canyon, has a waterfall at the end. There's actually like 3 or 4 different waterfalls in the area I love taking my couples to. Just the big, huge meadow on your way in. Most time it's like full of elk this time of the year. And you can just look and watch the weather moving in and out over the top of these massive mountains. And you can park your car literally here in Telluride and leave it here your whole time. And you could even get down to the courthouse, sign your paperwork, and never even touch your car. It's pretty rad.
Yeah, I love towns where you don't have to ride around. I remember when I spent time in Rome after an elopement in the Swiss Alps, and I just love all the walking that you do. And then you take a train somewhere.
It's so great. It's like sometimes you leave here and you're like, wow, I really enjoyed the stress-free vibe of not having to drive my car and park and all that. It's pretty cool.
Paint a picture for like what a day might look like for somebody eloping in Telluride. The pros, the cons, the challenges.
Well, the pros are it's beautiful. It's easy. We have tons of amenities here. The cons are it costs a little extra to elope in Telluride. But you really do get the value being here and the beauty and the experience. All my couples just are blown away. It's really hard to match. Do you want me to talk a little about a timeline, like what a day looks like, you said?
Yeah, talk to me. Well, first off, let's hit on it. Tell me about altitude real quick and what couples should be thinking about, especially if they're coming from a town that is not that high.
If you're coming to Telluride from sea level, you just need to be aware that the town is at 8,900 feet and you are going to be huffing and puffing a little bit. So you just kind of be prepared for that. There's oxygen bars in town if you feel a little lightheaded, but I would say give yourself a day or two to acclimatize before you do your elopement. And for my super adventurous, like really fit couples, like we'll hike and do some at huge peaks. And for other couples that are saying like, hey, I'm really not that athletic, I take them in my van. I'm actually sitting in my van right here. And I flip this chair that I'm sitting in around, and you can seatbelt in. I can take you on all the 4-wheel drive trails. And if you really want to go on some of the jeeping trails and get married at like a 13,000 foot summit, there's multiple around here. I love renting side-by-sides and Jeeps with my clients, and I can drive it. Sometimes we do sunrise, sometimes we do sunset. I mean, the experience is to die for. It's unforgettable.
You make me want to get married and elope. That sounds crazy. Okay, now talk to me about what a day would look like if we were talking about timeline. It sounds like you already mentioned something. It might be a good idea for the couple to show up 1 to 2 days early before they jump into stuff.
I really recommend that you guys show up a couple of days early so you can acclimatize. We're in a high altitude spot. You'll feel a lot better on your day. Don't drink too much the night before, just so that you're on your A game. And there's that. What I normally do is I pick up my couples at their house or I meet them somewhere. If it's a true elopement, a lot of times we just show up in one of my favorite fields or favorite vistas, and you walk up, we give each other hugs, we chat, and then you guys start out with your ceremony. That's probably the most common beginning to a day. Some of my brides and grooms want me to come by their Airbnb or their hotel and do a couple of getting ready shots. It's really up to them. But we really do focus on the adventure and the experience of the day. Sometimes it's, we start out in the dark and we're going to take a 4-wheel drive vehicle and do a sunrise. Other times we're doing a sunset overlooking like these magnificent views, and we crack beers. We wait for it to get totally dark. We photograph you under the stars. We laugh and we really talk very honestly and open and vulnerable and get to know one another. And I feel like with my elopements, I leave feeling like I'm friends with my couple. They're not just clients anymore. You guys become people that I really care about and feel like I know. It's really special. That's one thing that's so great about eloping. So we actually really talk and share our hearts and get to know one another. And I can help steer your experience of your day. I've been doing this for 20 years. So I definitely know how to pop in and make moves to help you guys have better experiences. I know when to kind of disappear when you're in a moment. It's super fun, and it's great to read each couple and see what they're wanting, help them create an unforgettable experience.
That's awesome. Hopefully you guys were helped as you were considering eloping in Telluride. If you want to talk to Michael, look in the description down below and you'll find his contact information if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're looking for a wedding videographer, you can reach out to me and you can find my information down below as well. And we'll see you guys in the next video.
Yeah.